Hey guys, Deathletter Magic here, and what's the only thing worse than a ban announcement that doesn't address or fix anything? It's an unban announcement that takes formerly problematic banned, proven to be not good cards, and sticks them back in the format because what's the worst that could happen? It's not like they were removed for a reason. I have been a firm believer in the fact that a card should never be unbanned ever. There's no point. I mean, just think about like Modern. There's like 15 to 20,000 cards you can play with. They've really got to risk putting one back in and restarting the problematic scenario that was the reason they got rid of it in the first place, just to add back one deck, one type of deck, one deck archetype to the format. That it's worth that risk to add that tiny bit of deck diversity. Really. Well, it isn't, so nothing should ever be unbanned. If you left it banned, leave it that way. Plus the yo-yoing prices, the speculative buy-ups, and then that just turns into scalping when everybody runs out to rebuild their deck after they've already sold off part of their deck because now they can't play it. It's just bad all around. Just leave things in the past, okay? Remember when they banned, I believe it was Ulamog instead of Aetherworks Marvel, pretending that that was the problem with the free casting deck, and then like a couple weeks later they finally banned Aetherworks Marvel? They never unbanned Ulamog. And that would have been the most justified unbanning that I have ever seen. And hopefully I'm remembering that correctly, or I'm definitely going to hear about it. But yeah, just having banned the wrong card in the first place, oh well. I think they did this with, I think it was a ban involving Hogak, wasn't it? Or it was something from Modern Horizons 1 where they banned one, and then they're like, okay, this is actually the problem, and then they banned the real problem. That might have been the Dredge one, I don't know, but they've done it twice where I don't believe in either case they unbanned the wrong card. So now let's talk about what they actually did today. They took multiple cards and unbanned them in Historic Brawl, which Brawl in Standard and Brawl in Historic right now are in a terrible state. And instead of trying to fix the power level by knocking off the couple commanders that people can't stand playing against that are clearly problematic, they decided, well, let's go the other way with it and just unleash a bunch of more broken crap, and then, oh, look at the deck diversity. Oh, yay! We fix mirror matches by making even more decks that nobody wants to play against. That is never a proper strategy. That is never a good idea. I cannot believe that they're stupid enough to do this. I really can't. But these morons are unbanning Golos Tireless Pilgrim and Winota Joiner of Forces. You shouldn't just leave Winota banned, you should also ban Haktos on top of it. And Golos? Free casting. Free casting is a problem. Has been a problem since I started the game. It's been behind, I don't know, a third of all bans. I suppose, given recent activity, it's probably not true, but at one point that was true. I think in 2018, 2019. Now, it's been a while since I played any kind of Brawl, but I remember Ugin, Kinnan, and the free casting Disaster God, aka the Bifrost Bridge, aka Rainbow Road, aka Rainbow Bright. If those three were cut out, everybody would be happy. I don't think that adding Winota back to anything when people want her head on a pike in Standard right now is a good idea. And then Golos, you gotta be kidding me. It's just free casting. I mean, like I said, that's never going to be okay unless you put a limit on it. And Golos doesn't really have an effective true limit. I mean, you gotta pay 7, okay. I mean, it's not just like, free casting, because that would be insane. But it is historic. I mean, that you can get to high mana levels. It's a very high-powered format, and that's kind of what their argument is. So they're not completely and utterly just pulling this out of their ass, but their reasoning is still crap, and I would not have done this. But then again, with the Mystic Archives in the Anthology, this added like 100 cards or close to it to Historic. Maybe they're just like, nah, I mean, the bar got so high and let them be a thing. Probably nobody will even play them. Probably not even good anymore. So let's read what they wrote. So they're unbanning in Historic Brawl only Golos, Tireless Pilgrim, and Winota Joiner Forces. Since last August, we have been tracking and weighting specific commanders in both Brawl and Historic Brawl. Let me stop right there. They have a commander power level matchmaking rigging thing that one of the developers, I'd like to think, accidentally mentioned. It's one of those things where everybody knows the matchmaking is rigged, but they're never supposed to admit it. It's kind of like Wizards knows the secondary market is the most important thing in all of Magic, but they have to pretend that it isn't and that they've never heard of it and that singles don't have any value. It's what they call an open secret. Well, it's an open secret that I go first about 19% of the times in Standard Constructed. The Shuffler, the Go First system, and the matchmaking. All three are proven rigged. Absolutely 100% proven. And the opening hand system is proven rigged because they admitted it and showed here's how it works. It's suspected that the land draw percentage is rigged over the first 15 turns of the game. I would 100% agree. They think that they're helping. What they want to do is prevent bad games. And the opening hand system, I can kind of agree with it, except for the 13 mountain deck, which was just an exploit of that. But I would have cut it off at 18, a hard limit. Stop giving them assistance below that. But besides that, yeah, you don't want to play a game where you get stuck at, 1 mana or mull to 4. That's a bad game and it's a waste of your time and nobody has fun and everybody has a bad time. If you across the board equally for everybody eliminate that as a possibility, then everybody just has better games. Like, I get it. It's not quite fair, but it also is extremely fair. It's not at parity with paper Magic. It gives you an unrealistic expectation of consistency. Like, there's all these downsides, but I get it. And I kind of agree with it. If you're not familiar, by the way, you think I'm just out of my mind. One, you clearly have trust issues. I didn't get to this sub count by lying to people. And two, they generate 2 opening hands and then go with the one that has the best mana density by percentage or something like that, where 21 would round down and 24 would round up to 3 or something like that, because it's a certain density of divide by 7 for the opening 7 or whatever. Basically, however many lands it appears that they think you need, they'll give you a slight better chance at it. And I heard that a rumor that they've now gone to 3 opening hands that they choose from. Also, for certain events, they turn it off, but they don't tell you whether it's on or off. Also, I think they turn it off for the post-mythic qualifier weekend thing without telling you. And I don't just mean I think that is a theory. I mean, I think I saw them post that in an article one time. So there's a rude awakening for you, but they have admitted openly that in Commander, in Brawl, they have a weighted deck skill matchmaking effector. I forgot what they titled it, but it's basically if you're running a super competitive commander or somebody else is running a super amateur non-heard of commander, it'll try not to pair them up against each other. Now think about this. Commander, actual paper Commander, is policed by the community, and if you run something that's completely out of line from a power level or a fun level, and it doesn't create interesting, fun gameplay mechanics and fun, interesting, different, unique gameplay every time, people are just going to kick you out and not let you play. You'll be forced into a different matchmaking. Well, gee, I wonder where they got this idea from. So, I mean, I get it. I somewhat agree with it, but if you're going to do it, one, be open about it. They did it for months and then finally admitted that it was a thing, which is the same they did with the opening hand system. The shuffler was proven to have an exploit in it, and they fixed it. They adjusted it like a recurring 4% thing or whatever. Still haven't completely fixed the riggage, just saying, but there was a flaw in it, and they did fix it according to somebody who tracked 10 million games and then 10 million more. After he disclosed that it was a huge problem and it blew up online, they did provably fix it, never admitted it. Never publicly disclosed that they fixed it or that it was ever a problem. So we're talking about some pretty crooked people trying to micromanage your life and your play, and they're gonna come in and fix everything and babysit you instead of just total free for all, totally even matchmaking, totally even everything. What a coincidence that they're also far left Democrats. I know, shocking. Micromanage everything, bureaucracy, large government, and 8 different laws in San Francisco about how you can walk your dog. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then you got the magic libertarians where it's hands off, just let me play some damn magic. Okay, make everything random, make everything fair. I'll deal with it. I'm not a baby. I don't need you to sit there and coddle me and eliminate my bad games. Okay, I'll play through it. It's part of the game. Get over it. So why am I putting so much stress on the rigged matchmaking system that they've admitted is in Brawl based on the commander, which commander you've chosen? Well, let me keep reading. There's 2 important reasons. So, oh, by the way, if you would like a reference, if you'd like me to prove what I just said, let me just read the next sentence. Our goal has been to better match players with similarly weighted commanders. Any other questions you'd like to ask about how matchmaking is rigged? I'd love to answer them for you. God, people are in such denial. There's still people, there's shuffle deniers, there's matchmaking is rigged deniers, there's opening hand deniers, and people link to them the article where the dev said, here's how the rigged opening hand system works. It's not rigged, you're just bad. Get better, play around it. God, anybody saying that? Shut the up. What's the quote? Some people are so stupid that they don't know how stupid they are. They know so little they can't comprehend how little they know because they have no concept of something bigger. So yes, they say, since last August, we've been tracking and weighting specific commanders in both Brawl and Historic Brawl. Our goal has been to better match players with similarly weighted commanders, keeping the challenge for competitive players while ensuring the formats remain hospitable and casual, or to casual players. So the low-powered fun decks where you're just playing to enjoy the game and have fun and play some wacky singleton, they get matched against each other, and then the try-hard net-tech and douchebags can all get a bunch of mirror matches and hate the game and complain about how the format's ruined when they're literally the one ruining it actively through what they're doing. But remember, these are net deckers. Each one at an individual level believes that they are entitled to win, but nobody else is. They're entitled to run a horribly powerful deck, but nobody else should. What they should do is give these man babies just a button that says win the game instantly, where if they're losing, they can just hit it and say, there we go, I won because I'm better. I have to win at all costs, so that button where it just says I win, that was the best addition to the game ever. I love it. Clearly I'm earning all of these wins with work that I didn't do, like with the deck I didn't build. The amount of mental gymnastics these net decking have to win douchebags bring to the game is astonishing. So in case you still don't get it, they go on to say players with high-powered commanders are more likely to square off against each other, and casual players not looking for that high-powered experience are more likely to face similar opponents. This has been largely successful. Has it? With the system in place, we are now more likely to use weighting rather than banning as a tool for managing very powerful commanders. You know those games where they found people who were cheating and then like kind of silently threw them all into a server against each other? I find that to be a very good strategy. Just quarantine, contain, and force them to all be in a community together where they can just all be toxic together and we don't have to deal with their bullshit. They should call this the net decker quarantine system. And then like the real one, the one where people are, coming up with deck ideas in this deck building game and just playing to have fun and do innovative, new, interesting gameplay that's different every time you play it. You could call that the creativity zone or paradise or, there's plenty of names I could throw out there. And then call the quarantine zone either the quarantine zone or the douche zoo. I like that one. Trying to think what else they nicknamed those servers in the couple games where they did this. I think Cheaterville was one, but they're not cheating. They're just assholes. Well, in this game, but they're still toxic members of the community that nobody wants to play with. They're ruining everybody's good time with their have-to-win attitude with the deck they copied off the internet, and then they just play the same deck for 6 months straight as if that's fun. The only fun to them is getting the win. They don't enjoy the gameplay. They just want free coins, high rank, so that they can feed their pathetic self-esteem with their self-delusions. In case you can't tell, I fucking hate net deckers. And in case you're stupid, a net decker is someone who has to win at all costs, so they go to get the best deck and only ever play with it. Somebody who just copies a deck off the internet because it looks kind of okay might win and they just don't have the time or interest in building a deck. I don't really consider that a net decker. They just want to jump in and play. They're low effort, they just want to play to have fun. So they're like, what's competitive? Let's look at the top 10. Okay, that one looks good. It's not the number one deck, but it'll win. I won't just get stomped with it. I'll play it. I'm not into deck building. That's not my thing. Yeah, if that's you, okay. There's some things wrong with that, but it's, there are worse things in the community than that. So copying a deck off the internet, just the fact that you're doing that is not net decking, okay? Being a net decker is a lifestyle. It's an attitude. It's a mental state. It's actually a mental deficiency, in my opinion. I'm just waiting for, the WHO to, put it in a book. Being a net decker should be a mental disorder in, an official journal. So yeah, I'm all for keeping the douches in douche quarantine and letting the rest of us play Magic. But although, the try-hard douchebags are the ones who tend to spend a lot of money on the game. I'd like to think that somebody builds 10 decks instead of one deck spends more. Then there's paper versus digital and wild card usage and who's going to play more versus less in the day. It gets a little muddy, but people who pretend they're taking the game way too seriously tend to also take it very seriously when it comes to spending money, as a priority in their budget. So do you want to piss them off by saying, oh, well, we'll just keep them in their own little thing and they can play high-powered Magic, whatever happens, and we're not going to rely on bans? I don't agree with that. I think if something is just inherently broken, unfair, or not fun, you should get rid of it. And remember, I don't hear them unbanning Sorcerer's Spyglass. That is just an inherently broken card in Brawl. You just can't do that. Now, the exact opposite is Baral, Chief of Compliance. If I recall, he's still banned. He makes control decks too playable, and when control decks are too playable, nobody has a good time because you can't stick a single damn spell. So they got rid of him. Well, in this system, put him back in and just let all the Brawl players play against each other. No, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't subject any human being to that level of bullshit. When something is problematic to the point of not being remotely fun, get rid of it. That's why I said Ugin, Kinnan, Bonder, douchebag, put Winota back on the damn ban list and bring Rainbow Bright with them. I mean, just get rid of them. It's just, nobody likes free casting every single upkeep with like a free draw/tutor. It's ridiculous. So they're going with a less aggressive ban strategy. It's going to blow up in their face, but at least thank God it won't affect me if I'm running a low powered deck. Unfortunately, I tend to run like ones where my commander is a commander that's considered really good, but I build the rest of my deck a different way, and they don't seem to have a detection system for that. So I run Kenrith as my commander in 3 different decks, and they're 3 drastically different decks, but their system has no way of picking that up. I mean, it's a 5-color commander. Yeah, you could be running literally anything. So we've got a problem there, don't we? And he's considered absolute top tier, at least tier 1.5, if not tier 1. I mean, the guy's insane. I think one of my other ones is like a really gimmicky, kind of just fun, interesting, wacky deck with that one 3-color flying pixie death touch thing. Not even that good of a commander, honestly. It's like controlly and splashy at the same time. It's like a giant duck and cover deck, but with a little bit of like a in the air swarm option. It's not very good. It probably wins 40% of the time, but it's really fun, interesting, wacky gameplay with like high-powered cards that you wouldn't normally see in Standard Constructed because they're not good enough for that format, but they're perfectly acceptable in Brawl. And I think I just described like why people play so much Commander, because it's fun, interesting, and you get wacky, crazy cards that just are splashy as hell. But because of Singleton, you can't get any consistency or any kind of like thing going, like too powerful of a steamroller built up. Synergy, you can't get any of that going. So yeah, when I play that, I get powered up against lowered opponents, and I do appreciate that. So I might jump on live stream. We might test this a little bit just to see, if like how bad of a deck or like how bad of a commander I can put in a deck and then still have like a power deck that just runs people over. Because besides literally just checking what commander it is, I don't think they have a backup system. I don't think they adjust for like the power level of your deck, the CMC, the win rate, any of that. I mean, we all know that in Standard, your win rate of your deck affects matchmaking. It's clear as day at this point. I don't care if they want to admit it or not. It's very clear that's what they do. Would they say, okay, this guy's running a garbage literal commander, but he's getting a 90% win rate, let's do something about it? I feel like they'd be smart enough to do that, but I don't know. So I do want to test it. More testing is needed here. But I'm kind of interested because, like I said, with that hand assistant thing, people found an exploit for that. They just ran 13 mountains, and it kept sticking them with 1 mountain. And that's all they needed to launch the game because it was a red blitz deck. So if I run some no-name garbage commander with that nobody ever plays that has a win rate of who cares, and then the rest of my deck is like a mono-white life gain power deck, is that going to break the system? Am I just going to get free wins, basically? Will it ever adapt? I am really curious, so I'm going to be testing that over the next couple weeks. So the end of this ridiculous justification is we're unbanning these 2 cards. They're no longer banned in Brawl. I got it. As the format develops, we'll continue to adjust weighting of various commanders as appropriate. Well, whatever you think works. It's an interesting, innovative idea. I'd rather just play fair and then just take all the broken shit and ban it, but whatever. This almost, on the surface, seems like a better idea. I will give them that. I don't think it is at the end of the day, but whatever. Interestingly enough, we're going to have a 100 card historic brawl as an event, and that's on Arena. So they might permanently convert historic to 100 card. I mean, everybody says every time like that they do anything as a side event, like, oh, they might do this from now on. This might be like a big giant secret test. That's what they said about what do they call it? The standard shakeup. They might permanently have a standard shakeup format where like you have the high-powered standard where almost nothing is banned, and then the low-powered standard where everything that's problematic, all of Tier 1 is banned. And remember, we've had standard shakeups that had like a 28-card ban list, and it was just about the most fun you could have on Arena when they held them, and strangely enough, they haven't had one of them in a while. I guess they're really devoted to people not having fun in the standard format. Maybe the temporary exclusion list of cards would just be so embarrassingly high that Wizards told them not to hold it. Or people would have so much fun that they'd never want to go back to regular Standard Constructed after the event was done. I think, honestly, that's probably the real reason they pulled it. But either way, we haven't seen it for months, and that's not normal because they used to run it all the time. So, I mean, what do you think is behind it? I think I've got it cracked, but if you have a different explanation, I'd love to hear it. So yeah, this let's just test 100. It might just be a wacky, ooh, hey, rebuild it and have fun. Or it might just be like, we're going to test this, and if it works, we're going to do it. Because forcing people to play 100 cards will lower the power of the deck. It's just that simple. There's not that many good cards to go around. Or the decks have become too consistent at 60 because they added, like 100 cards in the last couple anthologies and Mystic Archives that they're like, oh, no, we have to go to 100. Like, it's not even an option. Personally, I think they should, and I do think they're going to keep it after this. I think they're going to look at the stats and be like, yeah, that kind of worked, and then they're just going to do it. Although, most people don't bother to put together a deck for like a 2-day tournament, a 2-day special event, because it's like you end up spending 2 hours to build the deck, 2 hours playing with it, and then it's already, oh, whoops, the event's over. Such a complete waste of time, especially when you talk about like deck tuning and testing. I mean, by the time you're done tuning it, it is day 2. So I've never found that to be a good use of my time. Maybe you think differently, but if they held this for like a week, that would be nice, but they're not. So what I'm saying is they're probably not going to get very accurate numbers from this. So if you're going to do something, Wizards, just do it. Don't bullshit us and tell us that it's just a temporary thing we're trying for fun. Bullshit you are. So, yeah, I'm going to go put together some Brawl stuff, start testing Brawl. I actually just built 2 decks in Standard that are just killing it. I mean, my win rate with them is like 80-90%. I built them very specifically to crush specifically the tier 1 meta because I'm already extremely high ranked in Standard. So I got to finish tuning those, and I've got to show them to you guys in some videos, so hit subscribe if you don't want to miss that. But after that, I'm going all in on Brawl, and we're going to see how good or bad it really is. But that said, I really don't agree with this unbanning at all. I think it's going to do bad things to the game, but at least it shouldn't affect me. And if I keep getting matched up against them, I'll know that they figured out my low-powered commander, high-powered deck scam. Okay, scheme. It's not really a scam. It's a scheme. But thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you guys next time.